I annoyed 20 companies into mailing my friend the Constitution. It started with the internet, or rather the lack thereof. My internet provided by the behemoth that was ComCastiCorp. Yeah, I changed the name. Sumi had been sputtering like a dying lawnmower for a week. Netflix buffered every 5 minutes, online games were unplayable, and even checking email felt like navigating dial-up. So naturally I called. Big mistake. Mr. Thompson, the ComCastiCorp customer service representative, was the epitome of corporate indifference. He spoke in a monotone, punctuated by long, pregnant pauses, and the distinct sound of him chewing something I suspected bubblegum. After 30 minutes of repeating myself, running speed tests, and resetting my modem for the 5th time, I was no closer to a solution. "Sir," I finally said, my voice rising in frustration, "I'm paying for a service I'm not receiving. This is bordering on fraudulent. I have a right to reliable internet access. It's practically a necessity in today's world. This infringes on my ability to work, to communicate, everything. It's practically a violation of my," I trailed off, grasping for something concrete. My constitutional rights. I knew it was a reach. A desperate, caffeine-fueled, sleep-deprived reach. But I was grasping at straws. Mr. Thompson, after another long, chewing, punctuated pause, sighed. "Sir, with all due respect, everyone thinks they know the Constitution." He said it with a tone that suggested I was an idiot, a conspiracy theorist, and possibly still living in my mother's basement. That did it. "Everyone thinks they know the Constitution," he'd said. The arrogance of it, the dismissiveness, it ignited a fire in my belly. Not a fire of righteous anger, not exactly. More like a slow burn of petty, calculated revenge. I slammed the phone down. Sarah, my girlfriend, looked up from her paralegal paperwork, her brow furrowed. "Everything okay, Alex?" "No, Sarah," I said, pacing the tiny apartment we shared. "Nothing is okay. Corporate America is a monster, and I just got slapped in the face by its slimy tentacles." I explained the whole infuriating exchange to her. She listened patiently, offering the occasional hum, and "That's awful," but her eyes betrayed a growing sense of unease. When I finished, she sighed. "Alex, I understand you're frustrated, but I don't think you can sue them for slow internet." "I'm not going to sue them," I said, a mischievous glint forming in my eye. "I'm going to annoy them." That's when I came up with Operation Constitution Bombardment. The plan was simple, elegant in its absurdity. I would inundate ComCastiCorp and other similar behemoths with requests for information packets, brochures, anything they offered for free. And in the name field, I would use my friend Ben's address, but slightly altered names: Benjamin Smith, Ben J. Smith, Mr. B. Smith. The catch: in the message or request field, I would ask for a copy of the United States Constitution, or information about constitutional rights, or hell, just a pamphlet about freedom. My rationale: to remind these companies in the most irritating way possible that the Constitution exists and that their actions, however mundane, should be guided by its principles. Sarah, bless her heart, tried to talk me out of it. "Alex, this is petty and probably illegal. Think about it. You're using Ben's address without his explicit permission. You're potentially overwhelming the postal service. You could get in trouble." "Ben's cool," I said, waving away her concerns. "He owes me anyway. Besides, it's for a good cause, civic engagement, corporate accountability, all that jazz." Ben, when I finally explained the plan to him over beers that night, was less than enthusiastic. "So, let me get this straight," he said, swirling his beer. "You want me to be the unwitting recipient of a mountain of junk mail, all because you had a bad phone call with some guy named Thompson?" "It's not junk mail," I protested. "It's educational material, and it's about more than just Thompson. It's about the principal Ben side. He's a software engineer, a logical, pragmatic creature. Principles don't usually factor into his algorithms, but he's a good friend." "Fine," he said. "But if I start getting bills in the name of Benny Smothers, you're paying for it." And so, Operation Constitution Bombardment began. I spent the next few hours online, meticulously researching companies. Cable companies, banks, insurance providers, fast food chains, anyone with a massive marketing budget, and a readily available contact us form. I filled out each form with Ben's address, carefully varying the name, and requested a copy of the Constitution or information on constitutional rights. I even threw in a few requests for the Declaration of Independence, just for kicks. The first few days were quiet. I started to wonder if the whole thing was a bust. Then, the trickle started. Ben called me, his voice laced with amusement. "Dude, I got a package from Bank of Amory Corp today. It's a glossy brochure about retirement planning and a pocket constitution." I pumped my fist in the air. Yes, victory. The next day, the trickle became a stream. Another constitution from a health insurance company, nestled between pamphlets about deductibles and co-pays. A third from a credit card company, alongside an offer for zero APRA for 6 months. Ben sent me pictures of his growing pile of constitutional literature. He was starting to find the humor in it. Then the stream became a flood. His mailbox overflowed. The apartment manager, a stern woman named Mrs. Henderson, started giving him the stink eye. The mail carrier looked increasingly harried. Ben called me, no longer amused. "Alex," he said, his voice strained, "I think you might have overdone it. I'm getting like 20 packages a day. My apartment looks like a constitutional convention exploded." Mrs. Henderson threatened to evict me for creating a fire hazard. I tried to reassure him. "Just think of it as your civic duty. Ben, you're spreading awareness," but even I was starting to feel a little uneasy. Some of the companies weren't just sending constitutions. They were sending targeted marketing materials, personalized with Ben's varied names. Offers for mortgages, car loans, even a few dating site invitations addressed to Ben J. Smith, single and ready to mingle. Then came the cease and desist letter. It was from a law firm representing a pharmaceutical company. They accused Ben of harassment and abuse of company resources. They claimed he was part of a coordinated campaign to disrupt their business operations. They demanded he cease and desist all further communications. Ben forwarded me the letter with a single word: seriously. I started to panic. Sarah, seeing my anxiety, pounced. "I told you this was a bad idea. Alex, now you're facing legal action. You need to stop this." Right now, I knew she was right, but I was trapped. I'd unleashed this constitutional tsunami, and I didn't know how to stop it. I sought advice from Professor Davies, my old constitutional law professor. He listened to my story with a raised eyebrow and a knowing smirk. "Interesting approach, Alex," he said, stroking his beard. "Innovative even, but legally murky. You could argue you're exercising your right to petition the government, but they could argue you're interfering with interstate commerce. It's a gray area." "Thanks, Professor. That's exactly what I needed to hear." Then the local news picked up the story. A disgruntled resident of Ben's apartment building, tired of tripping over stacks of constitutions in the hallway, had tipped them off. The headline read, "Constitution Bomber Terrorizes Local Apartment Building." The story painted me as some kind of anti-corporate terrorist, single-handedly clogging the postal system with unsolicited constitutional propaganda. They interviewed Mrs. Henderson, who described Ben as a nuisance and a potential hoarder. They even interviewed the mail carrier, who looked like he was about to have a nervous breakdown. The comments section exploded. Some people praised me as a modern-day revolutionary. Others called me a snowflake and a waste of oxygen. Then ComCastiCorp got involved. Their lawyers contacted me, threatening to sue me for harassment, abuse of customer service resources, and causing significant financial damage. They claimed my actions had cost them thousands of dollars in wasted postage and employee time. And then they sent Mr. Thompson. He showed up at Ben's apartment building, flanked by 2 burly security guards. He was wearing a dark suit and tie, and his usual bored expression was replaced by a smug, almost gleeful look. He found me helping Ben sort through the mountain of mail. "Mr. Alex Carter," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "I'm Mr. Thompson from ComCastiCorp. I'm here to serve you with a notice of intent to sue." I felt my blood boil. This was the guy who had started it all. The guy who had dismissed my concerns and insulted my intelligence. "You think you're so clever, don't you?" he said, his eyes narrowing. "You think you can just harass us and get away with it? Well, you're wrong. We're ComCastiCorp. We have lawyers and we have money, and we're going to make you pay." I was just trying to make a point, I yelled, my voice echoing in the hallway. "You guys are a monopoly. You treat your customers like garbage. You violate our rights every day." Ben stepped between us, his face tight. "Okay, guys, calm down. Let's not make a scene." But it was too late. The shouting had attracted the attention of the other residents of the building. A small crowd had gathered in the hallway, watching the drama unfold. I looked at Ben, his face a mixture of anger and embarrassment. I looked at the security guards, their arms crossed, their eyes cold. I looked at Mr. Thompson, his face radiating smug satisfaction. And I realized I had gone too far. I confessed everything to Ben and Sarah. The plan, the execution, the escalating chaos. Ben was furious, but also strangely impressed. Sarah just shook her head, her face a mask of disappointment. I hired a lawyer. He told me I was in deep trouble. He negotiated a settlement with ComCastiCorp. I had to issue a public apology. I had to pay them a small amount of money, and I had to promise to cease all further actions. The apology was humiliating. I had to stand in front of a bank of reporters and cameras and admit that my actions were ill-advised and disruptive. I had to say that I respected ComCastiCorp and their commitment to customer service. It tasted like ash in my mouth. The fallout was predictable. I was vilified online. Some people called me a sellout. Others said I got what I deserved. Ben eventually forgave me. He even admitted that he found the whole thing kind of funny, in a twisted sort of way. ComCastiCorp, under pressure from the negative publicity, announced a new customer service training program that included a section on constitutional rights. It was a small victory, but it was something. I learned a valuable lesson. Petty revenge is rarely worth the consequences, and fighting corporate power is a lot harder than it looks. Ben and I are still cleaning out his apartment. There are still boxes of constitutions everywhere. He jokes about using them as wallpaper. I'm still studying for the bar. I still believe in the Constitution, but I'm a little less idealistic now, a little more cynical, a little more aware of the limitations of my own power. And sometimes, when I'm feeling particularly frustrated, I still think about Mr. Thompson and I smile. Because even though I lost, I know I annoyed him. And that, in the end, is all that really matters.